So, I don't think your vices, I don't think the worst part of vices are the time that it wastes. Like, when you look at somebody that smokes all day or, is on TikTok all day or is playing mobile games all day, obviously a big part of that is you're wasting a lot of time, right? That's an easy to measure metric, and that is true. Like, it does suck to waste 4 hours of your day on bullshit, but you don't look at somebody that meditates for an hour every day and you're wasting an hour doing nothing. Yeah. I think it comes down to more than just time wasting. And I really think vices are so detrimental, especially to long-term growth, because they kind of mess up your emotional regulation skills. Example of this the other day, during the day, during class, I was feeling sad, and I was like, I'm definitely going to the gym after school today. I'm definitely gonna work out so that I can feel better. And then I got back. I was planning to, and I smoked with a friend because he wanted to smoke, and suddenly I felt no need to go to the gym. And that's not because it made me lazy, maybe partially, but I was thinking about it, and it made me realize vices kind of, it didn't even make me feel not as sad. I didn't even, I was still sad for the same reason I was earlier in that day. And I feel like the weed really just made me feel it took away the part of me that needed to act to change that feeling. It made me very complacent with that feeling. And that's not to say it made that feeling go away. It just made me feel okay with having that feeling. And I think that's what makes vices so bad. I don't think it's necessarily because it does definitely numb the feelings to some extent, and that's also just terrible. And I think that's very similar. It definitely makes you feel them a little bit less, or it kind of dulls them out. But it really, I was just wow, I don't feel like I need to go to the gym to feel better anymore. It's not that I feel 100% better, but I don't have that ambition to really change that feeling, And I think that this applies to more than just weed. If you're, scrolling on your phone before bed, for example, or you're watching a YouTube video before bed, I feel like the time before bed is a time to reflect on, your day and how you felt during the day. And if you smoke before bed, or you watch content before bed, or even if it's not content, even if it's watching art before bed, which is I guess less bad, but it's still just, it makes you not need to change feelings, distracts you from those feelings or whatever. But yeah, it just makes you so complacent with them. And it's not even just for sad, bad feelings. It's not even just for feeling sad, It's also for feelings like the feeling to want to impress a mentor. When I smoke a lot, or I am using YouTube a lot, I don't feel that feeling as much. And I don't feel like I need to do something to change the fact that I haven't impressed people as much as I wish I would. Or I haven't made this mentor proud of me as much as I'd like to. It dulls the need to change that, It gets rid of that desire to switch the feeling. Um, and I think that might be worse than wasting time during the day, you know? If you want to watch a movie a day, I think that's awesome. That's like 2 hours a day. You know, if you want to watch 2 movies a day, it's getting a little much, but like, I think it's okay to have time during your day to wind down. But it messes with your ambitions, you know? And it messes with your emotional regulation. And I think part of emotional regulation is action. It's change, you know? That's the thing that kind of makes you change. Are you gonna change if you feel completely content with your life and your feelings? Like, you could, maybe, like, just for fun, just to do something, but I feel so much less need for change when I'm using vices a lot. And I think yeah, that's kind of the worst part of them. And I think a lot of people have bad perceptions of like stoners, for example, because they just kind of sit around and they don't do a lot. And that's partially because weed kind of makes you lazy. But I think another part of that is just you're complacent, you know? And it feels good to be complacent. It feels good or it doesn't feel good to not change, but it feels good to be okay with who you are and that you know, you've worked a lot already and you've kind of, you gotten to a point where you're happy. And that's not necessarily a bad feeling to feel. I think it's good to feel okay with who you are. But I think there needs to be a balance there. You know, you need to also want to change or you're not going to improve. And I think, maybe sometimes using vices is okay to have that, especially if you have a really, stressful life or whatever. But you got to be able to do that naturally, being able to be mindful of how you feel and sit down and look at the feeling and say, no, I've done a lot. Like, I'm okay with how I am right now. Like, even if it's just for like, for a couple hours, I'm okay with who I am right now. Like, I don't need to work at this exact second. I don't need to be thinking about work and school and whatever. I think it's really powerful to be able to do that without a substance or without a piece of media to watch or, whatever other vices there are. Yeah, I think it's just important to have that balance, or else, like, you only got so much time to improve. You have a lot of it, but it's easy for it to dwindle away, and it dwindles away quicker if you're really leaning into your vices. So, strive to have that balance, and strive to be a little bit better, like, and feel okay with your progress. It's not obvious. I mean, this is literally repeated every single day, but like, progress isn't linear. Like, you're not going to improve like this amount every day, and that's okay. You don't need to smoke or watch something or distract yourself from the feeling that you didn't do enough. If you can just look at that feeling and say, yeah, it's okay. Without that feeling, how would I get better? How would I improve? I try to feel grateful for, the feeling that I'm not enough, even though I know that it's like, it's not something to take at face value, obviously. But I'm grateful that I feel a need to improve. I would hate to just stay the same for the rest of my life. That sounds lame. I want to grow and be better. And I think that's a good feeling to have, even if it kind of feels bad. But that's all right. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel bad. It's all about that balance.